Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first broadcast on the developer experience debate. I am joined today by Roche Kampan from South Africa. We're going to be talking a little bit about Scaf, so it's hopefully a series where we dive a little deeper into the work we've been putting into this tool, the state of the industry, and what's going on. And we basically just wanted to have a casual conversation, maybe a little bit of a debate as we go down the path of where we're at. My name is Calvin Hendricks Parker. I'm CTO and co-founder of 6 Feet Up. Again, Roche, give a quick introduction. Who are you?
Hi, everybody, and hi, Kelvin. I'm a software architect at 6 Feet Up, and I have been deeply involved in the architecture of Scaf, and it's been amazing what we achieved with it this year and what impact it has on our own projects, and I'm looking forward to talk about it.
Yeah, it's crazy because we started the Scaf journey back in 2018. If you kind of look back at the history of that repository, it's since been renamed and since split up and refactored a few times. But back in 2018, I think we already identified the need for how do we codify and publish and document all of our opinionated best practice standards into something that we can use as a reference model or that we can deploy for customers or people can just pick up and try. And that's basically where Scaf started. Scaf was this opinionated template on, it actually kind of is a fork of the Django cookie cutter that Paidani put together years ago. And I liked a lot of his opinions, but some of them I differed on, and I wanted to bring kind of a 6 Feet Up flavor to it. So we started building that. It's since diverged dramatically from where it was in the cookie cutter days. We're not even using cookie cutter anymore. So actually, over the last 2 years, I think there's been a lot of activity in Scaf. We did a lot of work on the developer experience, and then we've rolled more of that work over into some of the GitOps and deployment experience. I guess by setting that stage, talking about the developer experience, what's happened over the last 12 months, and then where's this going?
Yeah, I quickly want to just pause on the fact that Scaf is a template. Actually, what a significant change this year is Scaf isn't a template anymore. It is now a template manager. So we moved what Scaf was, that set of opinions, into something that we now call the Scaf full stack template. And we even developed a new one, which is a AWS Lambda template, call it a Scaf Lite. And the fact that it is a template is significant because it means that it is something with the intent to reuse, but not only reuse, but also to update projects. Because what happens with a template? You bootstrap, time moves on, and then all your newly acquired best practices never make it into projects. So, and that's one of the primary reasons why we switched to Copier and don't use cookie cutter anymore. Copier enables us to update projects in production.
It's pretty awesome to watch Copier in action. Like if you've pulled down an old repo and you want to update it with latest, Copier just does it. It's magical.
Yeah, and I love the fact that it's Git based, and you can see exactly, these are the changes that you missed out or will be applied from the upstream.
Or this is the danger that awaits you.
Exactly. So yeah, the big win this year was absolutely on the deployment side. But while we're actively developing on the deployment side, we kind of tested our opinions on the developer experience side. And we saw that it greatly improved that workflow. There was a little bit of grumbling in the beginning, especially when we said, we want to use Kubernetes for local development workflow. But now it's kind of abstracted away. Like great UI tools like Tilt just abstract that away completely. Developers don't even know they are working using Kubernetes for the most part.
Yeah, I think Tilt's definitely a big unsung hero in the whole stack. I'm amazed at the number of developers I talk to who've never heard of it, but I think that comes into play. We'll talk about this later about the whole Kubernetes debate, like why people think Kubernetes isn't a good choice for what we're talking about here.
Yes, we'll return to that. We'll have to, but then so our focus, while the developer experience was on trial, and in my opinion, it succeeded with flying colors. Our on the development side, we were focusing on streamlining deployment, and not only to a sandbox environment, but to multiple environments. With the bar was high. We wanted to achieve a production deployment with a single command, and we did.
Yeah.
And I mean, you keep challenging me on this, and I said, well, I don't think it's possible. There are just too many dots to connect, too many things that go wrong, and I mean, who knows what's going to happen after a Terraform apply? It's never going to work, and we did it.
I think people underestimate what it takes to deploy software today. It used to be if you could compile Apache onto a server and have a web root and just throw HTML files into it, you deployed a website, and that was how it got deployed, and that was the whole magic. But it was all very manual. It required knowledge of like compiling source code projects, etc. This is the old days. The modern piece now, people are like, well, it should just be easy, right? We should just be able to like tap a button and have an application deploy onto a service in a cloud someplace. But you open up a box and it's got so many moving parts in there when it comes to DNS and container registries and tagging and what version goes where, and a sandbox environment and a production environment and a load balancer and a CDN, and we're adding in storage, but we've got object stores and we've got persistence in the databases, and so all these moving parts I think are what makes this difficult, but it's getting them all to line up so that one command literally wires everything front to back. But I think that starts at the developer's desktop, like at their machine. If they're building good containers that run in Kubernetes on their local machine, that facilitates obviously getting a container into a registry, and then Terraform and a lot of the Kubernetes manifests are what make the magic happen in the various clouds.
Yes, for sure. Now, I actually I mean, you just did that, but I wanted to actually list the things that we cover in the template.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, in our template right now, we have, just so that people know, what are they getting? What are being bootstrapped? We bootstrap the EC2 instances that we deploy to the DNS Route 53 configuration. We have CloudFront in there, load balancers in there, S3 buckets for static assets, SSM parameter store for secrets. All of that gets deployed in that one command that you run, and the complexity for a DevOps engineer is to figure out how to deploy, to use all of these. You have to have intimate knowledge of all these AWS services or cloud services and know exactly how to connect them in the right way. And only then can you actually start deploying an application.
Yeah, but you left out one of the big pieces here. It feel like the last 12 months was a bit of the year of Argo CD for us. Like maturing that story, it sits in the background and it's part of the containers that deploy into our environments. And that's what makes a lot of the magic of the releases, like the day 2 operations. How do I get my code from, a pull request to approved to merged to released? And I feel like a lot of that's Argo CD, and we did a lot of work to solidify that. I mean, when I launched an Argo CD instance and I open up like a Scaf project online and I watch the magic of that tree going green as all these pieces get deployed, and I now have like monitored and status, and I can one-click rollback. It just amazes me that power, and it exists, and it's open source, and it works so well.
Yeah, I was basically covering the infrastructure part, and when we moved to Argo CD, that to me is deploying the application.
Yeah,
and I mean, for the Argo CD nerds out there, we are using what we call in this strive to really be declarative all the way, we're using what is known as the app of apps pattern. So all the applications that are deployed, not only our custom web app, the Django app, but even traffic, the proxy, the certificate manager, all the other Kubernetes apps, they are also deployed as an Argo CD application. The root application points to all the list of applications that we want to deploy. That's kind of the app of
Right,
apps pattern.
right. I mean, this is absolutely proactively defending against the click salad mess of a DevOps person going into the console and deploying these things piecemeal.
Or what I often call out developers on, they run Helm install directly into a cluster. That absolutely freaks me out, and you never know how the configuration ended up in the cluster. So with everything should be GitOps driven.
Yeah,
so
no, I think that's a big part of the magic of what we got to this year, was these reliable, repeatable releases. And it's interesting. So Scaf, a lot of people may go. There's a open source repository on GitHub. If you go to the 6PF organization, you can see the Scaf root repository.
Ooh, what happened? Did we lose Kelvin, or am I lost?
So I think we did lose Kelvin, but well, I'll text him and we can send him a Slack.
Okay. Well, I can fill the space while we are while you try and get him back. Yeah. So Kelvin mentioned an interesting while he went through the infrastructure part. He mentioned that it's important to tie that back into the developer experience. And I think what he means by that is deploying all of that infrastructure is also part of the developer experience. We have the developers working on the application, but we also have developers, the DevOps team that need to deploy the application. And having all of this in the same template means that these two teams can speak to each other, and they can speak the same language. And they are familiar with the choices made on each side. And that brings about that leads into a question of tooling and how you install the tools in the developer environment. And we've originally we started with the horrible pattern of curling an install script and trying to install all the packages that you need, both for development and deployment. And I've seen on many projects that there is the famous bootstrapping install script, and that later on becomes a full-on package manager. And then we discovered that this is a hard problem to solve, and we decided to try out Nix as a package manager. And the jury is still out on our experience, but what we have included right now in the Scaf template is a Nix flake that helps you bootstrap the whole development environment across different OSs. And right now, it's not. We have some hurdles and challenges in as far as adoption is concerned and the complexity of Nix. But right now, it does give us the ability to deploy tooling across OSs, and we are sure that we have a development environment that works both for development and deployment. I see Kelvin is still struggling to join us. Yeah, so I think that kind of covers our deployment story. Kelvin presented the deployment process at a couple of conferences. Yeah, Kelvin is saying he can't seem to reconnect to StreamYard. So I'm gonna summarize quickly where we are, and maybe we can schedule a follow-up and tell the rest of the story. So right now we can deploy Scaf successfully with a single command for different projects, and we will continue to build on that. Like I said, Scaf is not only a binary. It's a Scaf is not only a template anymore. There's a template manager. So we do realize that the Scaf full stack template has too many opinions that are likely difficult to adopt wholesale. And for that reason, our focus going forward will be to break that up into smaller, reusable parts. But all in all, we will continue our experiment. We have a long list of issues that we are going to tackle in the new year, and just realize that we have a goal. At the end of each project, we want to put our experience back into the full stack template. So what you get is it's not a one-shot template that we dreamed up at some point. On every project that we use this, and we gain experience, and we make small tweaks, and that all of that experience goes back into the template. And even if you are not using the template as a whole, parts of it might be usable for you, even if it's just a recipe or comparing. Hey,
I'm back. I don't know what's up, but I'm back. They obviously are not using Kubernetes to deploy these resources because it's not very resilient at the moment.
Exactly. Well, I've covered a lot while you were away, Calvin.
I can only imagine. What did I miss?
Okay, so I tried to close the loop, and because you made a comment that we need to deployment or developer experience is not only for the developer working on the app, it includes deploying the app and getting it out there in production. And then I briefly mentioned that bootstrapping that development environment with the right tooling can be challenging, and that we made a detour, or we made a choice to try out Nix.
Yeah.
And I explained why. It comes with its challenges, but it does solve a unique problem.
Yeah. Well, and that's it's a problem that shouldn't exist. It's almost as bad as like time zones and off by one errors. Is that fact that like Nix satisfies and helps you deploy reliably or use tooling reliably on your own machine, because I'm on a Mac, for example, and you're on a Linux desktop, as in this case, but we want to have the exact same experience, and you can't, because Mac deploys typically BSD based versions of the command line, like very, very like basic tools like TR, or base 64, and the fact that there were differences between those tools and the command line flags, like immediately caused some failures on my side where I'm like, Roche, what the heck? Well, this is supposed to be like, just like, pull it and hit one command and it should just work. And I ended up, falling through, I felt like an elevator shaft of razor blades all the way down. And that's where Nix, I think, came into play to fix that. I still have some reservations on Nix's complexity adding into this. So I think it's probably still going to be optional for the time being as we still figure out what our approach to that is. That's just my take on Nix. It definitely solves this problem. It is a hard problem, especially for new people. If you've got a new person to the team and you're telling them, here's a fresh laptop, go be productive. That was the developer experience. That was the first developer experience I ever wanted to solve with this cookie cutter template that we started in 2018. Was my goal was new laptop, fresh out of the box, and have a developer be productive in under an hour, like from zero. Like this laptop has never been booted before. They should be able to be productive, actually pull code, have it running locally, commit a change, and start a PR in an hour. And if you use Scaf and if you use Nix at this point, you will get that. You will get a productivity boost immediately.
Absolutely. And I think we will stick with Nix, but we will abstract it and maybe use some of the tools like Flocks or DevEnv, where there are dedicated teams trying to give you all the benefits of Nix, but with less complexity.
Yeah. Actually, let's drop into Drew's question here, because you said using these patterns for production is not just the dev workflow. 100%. I think we've been trying to get a parity between dev and production from the very beginning. Actually, we were working from the developer experience first in this workflow, and then we were struggling through the production releases and having team members on the team who had specific knowledge that made it kind of work to get to now where we're at. So I don't know if you wanted to talk about that, like why it was important to have Kubernetes on the desktop.
It's lovely when people ask these questions that lead you straight into the reasons why you picked a certain technology. And that question is the answer to that question is why we picked Kubernetes. We want to use the same tooling when we explore logs and runtimes in the development environment as we do in production. And with what we have now, we can. And when we need to scale, this might sound weird, but when we need to scale the development environment, Kubernetes allows us to do that. If the stack has too many services it allows us to do that. And we can do the same locally and in production.
But Roche, Kubernetes is so complicated. It's so hard to understand.
It is necessary complexity. I mean, the Linux kernel kernels are complex. We don't complain about the kernel because it's been abstracted away.
Right.
And that's what we do in the developer experience, in the deployment experience. We change. We want. That is complexity that we need in order to guarantee stability, in order to guarantee reproducibility, and in order to get the benefits of self-healing and all these other things.
I don't go hacking on the Linux kernel to make my app more stable. I don't go hacking on Kubernetes to make my app more stable. It runs as an abstraction.
Exactly, and it gives us it is a living document of our deployment. All the infrastructure as code, and Kubernetes is.
Oh, but Roche, like there's so much overhead to running Kubernetes. Is it going to take all the resources on my local machine to do this?
Well, it depends on how the runtime that you pick. A tool like K3S allows you to run Kubernetes on a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, I love our approach to this with you. So we use Kind as our local development choice for running Kubernetes, and it is so dead simple. It is a single container that invokes no, Kubernetes warning signs on my machine. I'm not even, if you're using Docker Desktop, we're not using the Kubernetes features of that. If you're using OrbStack, we're not using the Kubernetes features of that. It is a single container that downloads, builds a control plane, and runs everything inside that container, but it looks like a Kubernetes. It has all the features of Kubernetes without all the overhead, I believe, of Kubernetes.
Yeah, and I'm not. I'll take a small risk here. I recently discovered a tool called K3D, which looks like it can be even faster and more efficient, looking at the benchmarks than Kind.
That'd be impressive. Super impressive, because Kind is like an epitome of simplicity. I know it was meant and originally developed for Kubernetes developers, people who are developing on the platform itself. But as a development environment, it's so easy and so nice and so simple.
Yep.
No, I just said 3 words. I shouldn't say, like simple, easy, nice. I know those are words I try to strike from my vocabulary, but I just feel like that we have to make opinionated choices here, and we have to get people on track with a better way of having the same environment in dev. This is getting back to Drew's question, that we have in production. I want to be able to, if I have an issue in production, what's the best way to triage and actually debug that is to bring that exact code, that exact container that production is running, and put it on my machine with my developer tools, with the debug environment. And now I'm looking at the identical piece that's in production.
I think when you say the words easy, simple, you really mean we want to remove friction as much as
You're right.
possible.
I think you're right. I think that's a
Don't
better way to phrase it.
we don't have time. I've seen developers fight with their tools and take 2 to 3 days
Yeah.
to get up and running on a new project, and that is just painful to watch.
Right. And we're not suggesting anyone become a Kubernetes expert by any stretch of the imagination. I myself am not a Kubernetes expert, but when I pull down tools like Tilt locally, and I have tools like Argo in the cloud for the deployments and managing the the app of apps collection, that now is much easier for me to put into like a mental model and handle in my head, because I've got nice UIs and I also have nice CLIs that can interact with both of these bits of tools. I want to dig deeper. I've got APIs. I've got the control planes. If we're using Talos, we have a Talos control plane as well. There's no SSH. It actually simplifies and takes away a whole vector of possible attack. That's been one of our approaches, is to try and have like a hardened environment where we can put these things. So
This is an interesting.
Yeah.
This is an. I have another interesting question here by,
LinkedIn user
about necessary complexity and smaller projects. I mean, I guess it depends on what you are deploying and whether it needs to be highly available. But the way that I don't evaluate the technologies purely based on the scale. I evaluate them definitely on the ease of deployment and how much resources it takes and what convenience they offer. So Argo CD offers me the convenience of automatically deploying a application. So even on smaller projects, I mean, I have on my home lab, I probably don't need Kubernetes, but it's so convenient just deploying everything with Argo CD without thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I have small mini PCs running in my home lab, and I picked this technology because I'm familiar with it. It's knowledge that will last me decades, I think. And the ecosystem is so rich, and there's so much to it, and I get lots for free. I get great observability for free.
Yep.
I get automated deployments for free. I get automation for free. That should be a big consideration, even on a smaller project.
Yeah. No organization deploys a single application at all. Like if you are in a product company, you are building a long tail of apps to support the mission of that organization. You may have a main app that's customer facing, but there's probably 20 or 30 other apps behind that. If they all look different, their developer environments are all set up differently, and you're onboarding new developers, they have a huge cognitive load to overcome to be able to be productive on any of those other apps. And I feel like the thing we have found with the choices around Talos, Kubernetes, Kind, K3S, is that this makes all of our projects look the shape of them fairly similar, even though they're doing very different things. We've got some apps that are running in the cloud, some of them are running in EKS, some may be on EC2 instances, some of them may be on physical hardware in an air-gapped, disconnected space that is not connected to the internet at all. But we're using the same foundational technologies to do this. And I think Kubernetes makes that part of that possible, because it's a layer, it's an API that we can rely on, it has consistency and allows us to move the apps forward without thinking about infrastructure underneath the covers.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I can't say it any better.
Well, I know we've got a ton more we want to discuss, but I would like to continue this discussion. Look out on the channel, on the our LinkedIn page, on Success page. We'll probably announce another one of these coming up, because we've not even talked about lessons learned, any trade-offs. We've not talked about what's next for Scaf. I know there's a bigger vision out there, and I know it involves things that gets me excited, things like the Unix philosophy and having the one tool that does one job really well. And I think we've got some approaches we're going to try for that. So I look forward to Roche continuing this conversation and keeping people up to date on what's going on in Scaf. Make sure you check out the repository on GitHub. If you aren't using Scaf, I still suggest you check it out, because there's going to be patterns and templates and ideas in there that you can crib easily over into your other projects, and then you don't have to do all the hard work of figuring out how to connect those pieces, because we've done some of that for you. So go take advantage of the knowledge we've published out there and our opinions, and actually give us feedback. We love pull requests. We love issues logged. Want to make some changes, and the docs are pretty rich on it as well. So go check it out and let us know what you all think. Feel free to post back here on the LinkedIn page or on the YouTube live stream. Roche and I will be monitoring that and hopefully talking to you soon. I don't know if you have any more parting words, Roche, for the audience, for the crowd.
No, just that I would, well, yes, I would love some more interaction, people reaching out. Feel free to ask questions and engage with us. And any question is valid on why we do it this way and how we structure, what opinions go into the template. And I would love some more interaction, and I'm looking forward to future sessions to share our vision for the next year.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all soon.